Okay, back with another live stream, and I'm going to be backing up the videos on Cam 1, so I put Cam 2 over here, and that was the best place I could put it, so it's a different view than I usually use, and could in some ways be better, but well, I still get that reflection on my glasses, but I don't. I know how to fix it with, I put a light shining towards me, but my eyes are real sensitive to light, and I just can't stand to have a light shining in my eyes, so I don't do that, and it's another thing to have to set up, but so I usually leave it like that. I can't stand it sometimes when I look at it, but that reminds me of back in the, when I was a kid, it was with the, the old tube TV cameras and stuff. You would see that on TV a lot, in TV productions, and it's because it was really hard to fix. And if the person doing like they were a narrator or whatever, if they turned their head just a little bit, like I'm doing, then that it would come and go. So you used to see those really stiff announcers, and I figured out over the years as I learned about making videos, that was one of the reasons. That's one of the main reasons. It wasn't because they were that terrified to talk. It was because they were, don't move, you're ruining the shot. That's what the directors are saying and everything. So I actually did work on a local TV station back in the early 90s, a small one. I was a master control operator, and I generally stayed in the tower building, the actual tower building. They were different they didn't have remote control at the time, and you had to be you were like on the second story, I guess you'd say, height, playing the programs, changing the programs. But one day they asked me to come into the studio, which was sent to the tower remotely, and the studio signal, and that in tapes. There was two ways they did it. They could send a signal. I guess they did it wirelessly, like over TV stream, kind of the things like the news channels use and all. I suppose I don't really remember the details of how they did that, but anyway. I had run cameras some. I had volunteered on some cable TV shows and stuff, and I'd learned how to run camera. And I ran camera a little bit, and then they let me try out being the floor director for just a little while. And you're the one calling the shots. Camera 1, 2, do this. Camera 1, do that. And that was the hardest thing I ever tried. It is way more hectic to do than it looks like. And so did I try that? Maybe I did that on the cable when I was volunteering at the cable stations. Yeah, I don't know. Why am I going on about that? So anyway, I've done a lot of different things, and now that I'm old, I can't remember half of it. I remember it for a little bit, and then I forget. Okay, so get it mixed up. So anyway, let me check my sound and everything. My signal is a lot more behind than I remember. Maybe than I remember, but I was going to say that I'm used to. My delay, listening to it back through YouTube. But you have to do that if you want to know whether or not your stream's online or not, and if it's working. Like maybe you're online, you got a picture, but you don't have audio, and you don't even know it. So I always keep that playing on that laptop over there. So I'm always looking over to the left. Sometimes you can hear it when I turn. You can hear it, but it seems to be quite a bit more behind. But anyway, I didn't purposely set any extra delay. You can do that. It can help with your stream for the viewers. It can help with the caching, but I usually don't have trouble and don't have to do that. And it makes it more confusing for me, just everything to be on too much of a delay. So anyway, let's get off of the random topics, and what I'm going to do is, let's go to the desktop, I guess. I said that at the beginning, and I almost started out on track. Okay, I'm going to make sure I'm on the desktop. Yeah, okay. I went and looked up the instructions for setting up the, Lucky Backup, and setting up Lucky Backup and setting up a pre-shared keys, Rsa Keys. This is for Fedora. That's what I'm running, Fedora 28. This is Fedora 28, 29. Well, it'd be the same either one. I have a Acer laptop running Fedora 29 web server. But anyway, I always have trouble remembering how to do all this, when I end up wanting to do it. So I have to go back and follow the instructions. But I thought I would share there's a pretty good little rundown of how it works, how these right here, and on the Lucky Backup site, and I'll show you this is the Lucky Backup user manual, usually what it is, luckybackup.sourceforge.net manual HTM. Now I got to get back to where I was, but luckily I can use the search on this page and find it pretty quickly, and it's a really long page. So it has the whole thing of how to do it, and there's some stuff in here. It gets a little confusing because they say in one section it doesn't support. I'm not going to read it all. It's just too long. It doesn't support Lucky Backup itself, is what I gather. Lucky Backup itself doesn't support logging in through passwords. That's where I got that idea, I guess. I was thinking it didn't work, and then I was surprised when it did. When you go down somewhere else in this section, it says that it works with, different desktops, password managers is basically, it doesn't say it that way, but I finally realized that's what they're saying. It's all up in here. And last night, when I was going to sleep, you know how when you're trying to go to sleep, you start thinking, oh, did I mess that up? Did I do that? Let me see if I can find that screenshot. I think I'm already way past it now. Yeah. Remote. That's the section you want, remote. So it shows what I've been showing in my videos. You use this. This is the dialog page, the little window where you set things up. And it goes on and tells you how to do it all. Talks about the password stuff that I was just saying. And I was going to look at that. Or maybe that other, here's the other screenshot. What I wanted to say right quick before I forgot. Right in here, I thought I had messed up because, you don't ever want to share your private key. But it does say private key. And if you read it, it says, finally specify the port to connect to. It says, enter the full path of your private key file at the private key file text field. Use the browse button to open the graphical dialog if you wish. So, I showed how I couldn't browse to any of the dot folders, and so I had to copy and paste it in there. But I thought I did that wrong, and I shouldn't be sure. I should be doing the .id, .pub, but not here. And so I finally realized, this is only for Lucky Backup to see. It's not for it to share it with the host. This would be the host, so it would be the server. It's not going to share it with the server. The SSH server that I'm connecting to is the phone, my Android phones. I have .ssh droid installed and running on all three of them right now. I don't usually keep it running all the time, just when I want to use it, but it's installed, of course. So I did do that right. I thought, I've got to fix that, and but no, I didn't mess that up. All right, so right here, I'm going to jump in on this and kind of some helpful information. Basically, this is how the public and private key setup works. It's I always kind of forget because, I don't use it too much. I'm from the olden days when you used passwords, and I really still like that better. Even though you have to type them in, it used to just work. If you installed SSH server programs, then all you had to do is make sure you don't leave any default passwords anywhere, and then use your passwords. But now they think that passwords are less secure, and they want to get you into using these private and public keys. But of course, if you pay attention to any of the internet news lately, they've been breaking them left and right in the last few months. So one platform or another. But anyway, one thing to keep for the average person out and keep me out, it's going to work. I don't know how to crack them, wouldn't want to fool with it anyway. But it can be convenient because you don't have to type in a password. So I was actually thinking I might want to end up trying to set, if I can, SSH Droid says it doesn't support it unless you pay for the Pro version. But I got to thinking, why would that have anything to do with SSH Droid? If you set it up on your machine, whether it's a phone or a computer, it should work. You know, if it's running anything running Linux, you know, well, you can do it in Windows too. But and of course, Android is this. They say it's not exactly like a Linux desktop system, or well, they call it desktop because that's what I learned it on. But it's not like it's not exactly like, and it's not all laid out and doesn't all work like Debian and Fedora. But neither Debian and Fedora don't all work exactly the same. The folders where things are shared, like are in different places. I don't know about these in particular, but they always say, well, it runs on the Linux kernel, and when I go into my phone's operating system, I see that it is so similar, way more similar than I thought from just reading about it, and because I didn't have any until about 3 years ago. I never had any of these, Android, any kind of quote smartphone, So anyway, the public key authentication scheme is based on public key cryptography using crypto systems where encryption and decryption are done using separate keys, and it is unfeasible to derive the decryption key from the encryption key. That's their hope. It's supposed to be really hard to break. Of course, as soon as they make something that they used to say, oh, this is unbreakable, it'll be 100 years before it's breakable. Well, they've broken them all already within the few years, at the most 5 years after they come out with something new. But anyway, the idea is that each user creates a public-private key pair for authentication purposes. Public, and it says public/private, public and private key pair. The server knows the public key, and only the user knows the private key. Now, that kind of like, what? Because I'm the user, but it's talking about, of course, the user on the machine, which is not, well, it probably, I guess I can't even explain it out what they're saying. I know what they're saying, but I don't know how to explain it out. I can just show it. Well, let's just go there right now. Okay, so what it boils down to is in Fedora Linux, you have home.don.ssh, and you create your keys. That it doesn't come with them created. When you first install, you got to create them, and what you get is an ID rsa.pub. That's the public key. ID rsa is the private key. The known host file, yeah, it's already there, and that is where it's stored. When you get, if you've ever seen that message that says, we don't recognize this host, the machine doesn't recognize this host. Do you trust it? Do you want to connect to it? And you say yes, and it'll be stored in there, so it won't keep asking you. That is where and this is what one of the things I'm going to end up doing. This is a public key that I copied over, imported, they say, from my old IBM server. I'm not even running that anymore. Now I'm running that Acer laptop. But so that I could connect to it with, I think the reason I did it so I could do it in Crusader. It did work. I don't know if it still would. But I want to try to do that with the phones so that I can set up Lucky Backup to run automatically, and all I have to do is have my phone running and SSH Droid running, and when my backups, and then click backup and let them all, and it'll back them up, all of them, without me having to log in, because it keeps asking you throughout. Like when it finished, it asked me again for the password, and I thought, what? I thought, oh, is it asking me for the password to, I had 2 profiles I set up. I thought, oh, is it asking me the password for the second profile? And maybe it was, but it went so fast I thought, what was that, But now it was, I think about it now, because I saw how, when I did the test, the dry run, it went by very, very fast because it was a really small amount of data and it didn't have anything to write. So, I hope that made some sense, me trying to explain this. To me, this is not written in a logical way. I know how this stuff works. I forget things sometimes, but Fedora's documentation is usually a bit more logical. And since I've always and I learned on Fedora, and I run Fedora as my main systems. I have Debian on the laptop because it's too old to run Fedora, but Debian's really lightweight. But I guess everybody has different ways of writing styles and different ways of, they choose different words to explain the same thing. Well, this particular one throws me for a loop and makes it harder for me to understand. So even though I might already know what they're talking about, I'm like, what did they just say? So anyway, the idea, I've lost my place. Okay. Public private key, the server knows the public key and only the user knows the private key. Okay, so in other words, only my username is allowed to know the private key right here. But the server will see the public key when it tries to connect. And vice versa, the server, see, this is not the server. This machine here, the phones are the server. So in order to log in without having to type passwords and everything, I have to share this public key from this machine. Let's see. Actually, I think, I'm not quite 100% sure. I know I have to copy the public key from the phone, the server, to this folder here so that I can connect to it. That would be connecting from here to there. Okay, now if I wanted to connect in the reverse, I think then I would have to copy this one over to the phone. So I may not even do that because I don't really see any reason why I'd want to connect from the phone to here. And I'm not running an SSH server over here, I don't think. I forget sometimes. Yes, I am. Okay, so I did set it up so that I could SFTP into this machine and copy files and stuff. That's a really good thing to be able to do. The only problem is you better be really careful with having good passwords and good firewalls so that somebody on the internet can't log into your machine. Sometimes one of my last setups, I think it was a last operating system I had on this machine, I didn't ever set it up. And it got to be a real pain in the butt. I think that's why I went ahead and did it, because I couldn't ever, I used to network all machines. I didn't have a machine that couldn't network both in Linux and with Windows protocols. But I got really worried about the Windows protocols being broken all the time and being so easy to get into that I quit putting the Samba server on anything now. I don't install it anymore. But the SSH server is still supposed to be secure enough to use, especially within your own network. Within your own home network, you're not most likely going to have anybody trying to break into anything, but that's not the worry. The worry is if someone someone from the internet breaks through your firewalls and your routers, and then through your and I have, of course, software firewalls and my operating system both. Then they could, just destroy your data, steal your identity, and do all those things. Any kind of personal information you had on there. Anytime you logged into websites, say your bank or anything like that, they may be able to get in there and get that stuff. So you have to be careful with servers of all kinds. So now let's go back to where I was. Let's see. Just turning myself in circles. I hope this is making any sense. Only the user knows the private key. Okay. Now then, .s key, not .ssh. That's the period. SSH implements public key authentication protocol automatically using either the RSA, which is what I'm using, or DSA algorithms. Now I didn't even remember those till I saw that. I'm working with RSA keys. Files .ssh folder authorized keys lists the public keys that are permitted to log in. Now I don't have that file in my machine. I realized that when I was reading this. So I'm going to have to create one. You just have to make one. Going headlong into this one, well, we'll see. We'll just keep on going. I was going to do this later after I go ahead and get Phone 2 set up and backing up, because then it can be copying files while I'm fiddling around with this. And so I started with the second step of what I had planned, but talking about it, and now I'm going on and on. Anyway, I'm going to have to make that. I was starting to say, let's just make that, but no, let's wait till we actually do it. Okay, so the .ssh folder right here See, mine doesn't have that authorized keys list, and so I believe you just make a file. Oh yeah, I'm certain you do. You make a file with that name, no file extension or anything, and it'll work. Just a text file. And then I remember doing it before, not too long ago. List the public keys that are permitted for logging in. When the user logs in, the SSH program. Now here's something kind of funny though. I know that works. I just remember what I'm fixing to read. I know what I said works about copying these files over. I did it and it worked. And they're not saying that here. They're saying, you'll get to it, they're going to say, open up the file, copy the contents into that folder. I hope this is not really old information and it's not what you do anymore, but we'll find out here in a little while. Because there is, when you go read on how to set up the SSH keys, RSH keys, RSA keys, RSA SSH keys, I think is what you call them. It tells you all the difference between the protocol 1, protocol 2, and all that, SSH 1 and 2. And anyway, I'll get into that when I do that. So anyway, I think I'm going to have to do that because when I saw this, it lit up a light that, oh yeah, I had to do that before to make it work the last time I did this. But anyway, we'll see. It may be that if I'm seeing what mine looks like, I'm kind of thinking that I didn't even, I don't think in Fedora 28 and on, you may not have to you have that file anymore. You may just copy, or maybe it would work either way. You could either have the file or you can copy your public key file, over to the other machine. So, we'll see. So when the user logs into SSH, program tells the server which key pair it would like to use for authentication. The client provides the client proves that it has access to the private key, and server checks that the corresponding public key is authorized to accept the account. Okay, so yeah, maybe that means that you do have to copy those keys over, like I said, and you may need this file as well. I do not remember the last time I'm figuring I connected to that IBM server, and that's and it worked. But I don't remember, to be honest, whether or not I could have been having trouble and never realized how to do it. So anyway, I'll read that sentence one more time, see if it makes sense to me. When the user logs in, the SSH program tells the server which pair it would like to use for authentication. The client proves that it has access to the private key, and the server checks that the corresponding public key is authorized to accept the account. And the corresponding public key is authorized to accept the account. Access is what I would say, but anyway. See what I mean about the wording? It throws me in circles. Maybe it's not bad, but it throws me in circles, and it's not what I'm used to from Fedora. So, and this is talking about operating system stuff, not about Lucky Backup stuff. But anyway, you definitely have to read this page here or this section of this page to get Lucky Backup working. I did. I mean, unless you really already know about all this stuff. You might be able to go into the, Lucky Backup menus and just do it. But anyway, okay, so I was trying to get to wrap my head around all this so that I know how to do it, but I'm trying to wrap my head around this explanation. Okay, so which key pair for authentication? The SSH tells the server, which is the phone in my case, which pair it would like to use for authentication. The client, this machine would be the client, proves that it has access to the private key. I really thought until I was reading this today that you had to copy that private public key. Oh, the server it proves that it has access to the private key, and the server checks the corresponding public key. Okay. Well, the private keys. See the thing. Yeah, my client has access to my private key, but the server's going to have its own private key when you generate one over there, private and public key. Yeah, I have access to it, of course. It's generated on my machine and checks at the corresponding public key. Okay, it's authorized to accept the account. Okay, so that you have to copy that public key over. I remember that I tried, when the last time I did set all this up, and I was doing it in Crusader because I love copying and stuff through Crusader. Now, used to you could log in with the password, and that's how I always did it. Then they quit supporting that, and then that's when I had to learn how to set all these up. And I do remember getting it working. And the last time I tried to get it working on this, when I reformatted this for Fedora 28, I never did get it working. So maybe that right there, what I'm reading is some of the stuff that I missed. But yeah, that's why this is copied over. And so then I wanted to be able to go either way, so I would just copy my public keys between the two machines I want to connect to, copy the public keys back and forth. And you could go from either end to the other one. Okay, so, and I do remember having to set up that file, and maybe I need that, and the authorized keys file. So I'm just going to make that file. Well, let's just wait. I'm just thinking I'll forget that by the time I get to it, but it should tell you everything you need to know. I'm setting all that up in here. Let's see. Let's find that out right now. Let's see if something has changed. Because I do know that this is the newest way of doing it in Fedora. Okay, yeah. Starting with OpenSSH version 3, authorized keys, known host, and etc SSH known host 2 are obsolete. There we go. I read this a while ago, but my memory is just so bad I can't. The SSH protocol 1 and 2 share the SSH authorized keys. Oh, jump to conclusions till you've read the whole thing. The SSH protocol 1 and 2 share the .ssh authorized keys, known hosts, and etc SSH known host files. Okay. So I know I have my known host files. There it is. And I suppose there's an etc SSH known host files too. Oh. Let's go here. If I can get in there. Okay, no, I don't see a known hosts file in there, unless it's in there. Nope. SSH config. I'm not going to go try and messing with any of that unless I need to. But that's something I should try to keep in mind. I might end up needing that. But sometimes you don't need everything, that's just different possibilities of how you can do things. So, or for different programs may need say like that file there, etc SSH. That's the one I just looked at, and then others don't. So anyway, and then Fedora 12 uses SSH protocol 2 and Rsa Keys by default. See, this is. I'm not looking at really old documentation, am I? Oh, what? I just realized that says Fedora 12. Pretty sure I was looking at I got to this page through my shortcuts. So I'm pretty sure that here's a tip. If you want to reinstall, that happens a lot with Fedora. They don't update it unless they need to. So sometimes, though, if you see a note about really old version, you may be on the old page, an old documentation page. But this is what I used before and worked. Remember that? So I thought I had this all lined out where it'd be really smooth going to go through this, but let's see, it's not. So I'm going to look in my see if I have a folder for that. I'm looking for something about RSA or SSH keys or something. Could be in there. I'm just going to stay in that folder for now. RSA key. There's I did review these videos of mine, those two. That's what got me started. But RSA keys. Okay, there's a space there. Oh, I know what I had just done. Let's see. Lucky Backup. There's my folder on Lucky Backup. But I had a folder that I was in just a while ago. Sometimes I don't realize one day I name a C Software Linux Lucky Backup. And then up here, I think I have software Lucky Backup. So anyway, I just got through, I did a search and found that page that I'm on. That's the one I'm on right. No, that's my Lucky Backup page. Okay. Well, somehow I found the Fedora page. Did I put it? I copied all the links and I did a search like I'm doing right now, and then I copied the links into here. This is all about Lucky Backup. So I made sure not to put that RSA stuff in there. Okay. There it is, Fedora 29, because that's what I had looked up. Okay. I'm on 873. I just saw that they have numbers for those. 873 generation key. Okay. Yeah, I'm on that page. Now here's two more. And there's one on Server World. Let's just do that, and maybe I'll be a little less turned around about it all. Okay, so these are the ones. That's the one I was reading. That's the Lucky Backup page. Now, key-based authentication. These are the instructions. Let's see. This is the long form of the instructions, I think. No, it's not necessarily so long. This may be a better one to follow. Well, there's Rsa Keys. That's why it has so much more information. Okay, so then this one, remember your password, making SSH key. This is the command to generate them, and then this is just a quick and short way generating the Rsa keys. So we'll close that one. And then here's one from Server World, and that actually I found out this is where I found this site's pretty good and usually fairly quick to go through just what you need. I found it helped me set up my Fedora 29 server. Well, several different versions of Fedora server the last 3 years or so. Key pair, case private key, client private key. Yeah, this is explaining how to do it and what happens along the way. Okay, so create the key pair for each user. So log in with common user on the SH server host and work like follows. Okay. Transfer the secret key created on the server to a client. Then it's possible to log in with key pair authentication. It's making it harder for me to understand it. Okay. If you set password authentication no, it's more secure. Well, no, we'll see if I think I'm gonna leave that page open. As you see, sometimes I have a little trouble finding. Well, maybe not. More pages I have open, the more it works on my machine. So, yeah, this one is short and sweet, just for Rsa keys. Let's see. This one, it makes it harder for me to read. It looks more junky and harder. My eyes are real particular about how they read things. And all these graphics of the Rsa key, that's helpful, but it makes it harder for me to read it. But let's see. Try to see if it's actually. Okay, and then right there is where it goes to Rsa keys. I think it's the same instructions. I'm going to leave that one open because I think it could be helpful. Okay, so let's look at. I've just been looking and not like I said. I'm actually having trouble focusing in and reading. It all looks too. I don't know. It just seems jumbled. Maybe if I make it bigger. Previous system security even further, you can enforce the use of key-based authentication by disabling standard password authentication. Oh, okay. To do so on the SSHD config configuration, that's the web server. Okay, I'm going to stop there because now I see that's more about web server stuff. Okay, so this is the basic. They're very similar, but I don't want, I don't want to do that anyway. I don't want to. I'm not messing with web server right now. So my preview went to sleep. All right then. I don't even know where I was when I got off to looking at other pages and everything. So I'll go back in these instructions here and try to pick back up. When the user logs in, SSH program tells the server which pair it would like to use for it. This is why I don't try to read these things. I always get turned around in them, on my videos. I mean, when the user logs in on the SSH program tells the server which key pair it would like to use. Client proves that it has access to the private key. Checks that the corresponding public key is authorized to accept the account. Example. Now, and by the way, you can do this in root and or in your regular user, but when you do it in root, then you're opening up your root system to, like if somebody did somehow break into it, then they have complete control to overwrite, delete all your files on your whole system. So the only time I do any SSH, SFTP connections is like between this machine and my server, and then I usually, let's see. Well, I've got to where I used to only do it with passwords. What am I trying to say? I used to only do it with the password authentication, and there's 100 ways. If they know your root password, you're screwed anyway. So, but anyway, what I quit giving access to SSH, SFTP over root is what I did. I quit giving that access. In the settings of your SSH server, you can turn that on and off. And I don't know how you do that on Android. It might not be as hard as I think, but I guess you could probably do it on the command line. Of course, I can't type on the phone to save my life, like I said yesterday. So that's what I'm going to do, this creating these keys over remote, in a remote shell. That's what my plan is. I already tried that out. I didn't try running those commands, but I tried just some basic, checking the memory and stuff like that. And but anyway, my phones aren't rooted, so I don't think I could if I wanted to do it as root. But anyway, I wouldn't set these up as root on either machine. I would set them up as a regular user. And when I installed SSH Droid on my phones, I set up a regular user name, Dawn, and that's what I log in as. And like I said yesterday, but I unexpectedly, and I changed the password. I didn't leave the default password. And unexpectedly, I could always log in as I could use root or Dawn, but it still didn't give you full root access to the phone. You couldn't go into, the unshared directories and stuff, even if you logged in as root. It's really kind of funky, the difference. That's one of the differences in Android and Linux, that I've noticed. So I've been logging in as Dawn, but I get that message in Lucky Backup saying, it looks like an error message, saying, well, it tells you you should log in as root, and the default password is admin or something. And of course, I know I changed it, and I didn't try it during the video I got to thinking, what if something has changed somehow, or I messed up somehow, but I'm 99% sure at least that. Because I remember running into that before, that you can't log in as root. I mean, I could try it and see again, but anyway, well, what I mean as actual root. But now logging in using the name, I may try that today. I was planning on doing that. Instead of using Dawn, I'll try root and see if it works and if that goes away. But what I had noticed is, I think when I did that as root, the only difference I saw is the home directory that it put me in, and maybe when you first log in, and maybe it was a couple of extra folders I could get into that I didn't want into anyway. So like these backups, I'm only wanting to back up my user files, my videos and pictures, stuff, pictures, screenshots, and things like that. So we'll say, here's our example. To create an appropriate public key pair, use the command SSH keygen, which that's not exactly how you do it in Linux anyway. That's how you do it. And so that's how I'll do it when I do it. And that's probably just a base command, you know. I mean, it is SSH keygen right there. But see, you need the T in RSA. It might ask you what do you want to generate if you just type SSH keygen. I don't know, but I know this works, so that's what I'll do. When prompted to, now this is what I thought I'd get to right quick. When prompted to enter a passphrase, just press enter twice. No phrases. This store, now it doesn't explain all that you can actually put a password in there. And I did that at first because it said passwords. I made up a password. And of course, that makes it not log in automatically. It stops and it wants you to put in a password. And so here in Lucky Backup, maybe that's what they were talking about, not supporting the password. Maybe that's why it says don't put the password in. There's two ways you can do it. You can put a password or not put a password. I don't know if it explains that up here or not. It does in other places. Within the RSA keys, you know. So this store, okay, so when prompted to enter the passphrase, just press enter twice. It'll ask you twice, as if you were, you know, if you were actually doing a password, it'll say type the password once, press enter, and then type it again, press enter. That's what it's happening. But you just hit enter and you don't type any password. This stores the private key in .ssh identity protocol .ssh identity, which is that doesn't even make sense to me, but home.don.ssh. So see, that's not exactly the way Fedora is. I don't know if the Bane is different. I can't remember. I suppose I could look on my laptop, but and I don't know. Now this gets me into, I got to figure out where to put this on my Android phone. If it's not in the right folder, and I don't think the folders are already there. If they are, great. But if they're not, I got to figure out where to create my .ssh folder. It's going to need to look. I may need to. What I'm thinking is wherever it logs me in. Well, if I can get into the root, like if I can get into what, I don't think there's home. I don't think they have a home folder in Android. I think it's just. We'll have to look when I get to doing it, but well, of course, home.don.ssh is how the regular users are, but root is just it's at the root directory and then the root folder wherever it went. Did I hit? Yeah. Root. There we go. So it's /root/, and I can't do anything in there because I'm not logged. You know, I'm not using root privileges. You can click. I always put me a shortcut right there, Start Crusader in root mode. Then I could do that, but I'm not wanting to do that right now anyway. So I mean, I'm not going to be creating RSA keys in my root folder because I don't want to open that up to being, you know, vulnerabilities or anything, the root user. But and if you copy files over as root, then they're going to have root privileges only, and so then you can't work with the files until you change the file privileges. So you know, it's just a pain anyway. So stores a private key in where I just showed you, and then I don't know. Okay, protocol 1. Okay, and then or in SSH ID RSA protocol 2 DSA. Oh, that's DSA. Okay. They say identity. Okay, now I get what they're saying. But we know from looking here in Fedora, you have ID _ RSA and ID _ RSA.pub. So there can be differences. When this was written, it may have been a file named identity. This is like I was talking about, like this here is talking about Fedora 12 in here somewhere. I forgot where it was, or one of them I was looking at. And Yeah, right there. So back in the olden days, it may have been like that, and they hadn't updated their instructions. So, or SSH ID. Oh, okay. So that is the olden days. If I would, I'm always ahead of the. If I just read on, this is the way it is now, right there. And that would be the old, just like I was guessing. If I just read the sentence, it would have told me. Or RSA protocol, or ID RSA protocol, and stores the public key in SSH identity. Well, that says identity again. Pub protocol 1, okay, and then ID DSA for DSAs, and then ID RSA for RSAs. Okay, so it's all there in your home directory now. Then copy the public key to the SSH authorized keys. Now then copy the public key to SSH authorized keys, and that's a file, not a folder. That threw me around and around before when I very first learned this. In your home directory on the remote machine. So this is the remote. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Well, the remote machine, I guess, whether it's a server or a client, they're both remote machines. Okay, so anyway, that's why I copied them both sides. You copy the server over here, and then this machine over to the server. If you want to, you may have to do that to do any kind of connection from this direction to that way, or from that way to this way. Probably. Okay. So. Now, see, that might have been where, I don't know if that's where I actually got the idea of copying those. No, because I was doing that in Crusader. So it's saying what I was saying a while ago. Copy those public keys to both back and forth. The authorized key file corresponds to the conventional rhost file and has one key pair line, though the lines can be very long. After this, you can log in without giving the password. Please refer to the man page for SSH for a complete reference of SSH connections. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the thing about, that's why I'm not going to go ahead and create that. I'm still not 100% sure if maybe that's an older way, that authorized keys file, that's the older way, and I may not need that now. It could even cause trouble. So I won't make that unless, I think maybe all I have to do is I already have my public and private key created here, create a public and private key on the phone, and then copy the public keys back and forth, and it may work like that. If it don't, then I'll create the, I could be misunderstanding that, but I swear I read it more than one place, but maybe it was just here and I read it over and over. It kept sounding to me like it was saying copy the contents of your public file to that, and I can't even find the name of the file again. It's up in here somewhere. Authorized keys or something like that. Let's see. Yeah, known host and authorized keys. I think it's authorized keys file. So now let's see. And then enter the full path of your private key file in here, which I did that when I was setting my phone 3 and phone 2 up. And the only difference is that's as far as I went. I didn't create any keys on the phone, so I had to log in with the password. The password that's in my SSH server program that's set up like that. And like I said before, that program says that it doesn't support all this unless you pay for the pro version. So doing all this, creating those keys, that's why I never did do it, because I thought, well, there's no point in doing that. Now I want to do it anyway, just to see, even because I don't, well, no, it wouldn't work. I could find another app, another SSH server app or something. But I'm thinking that what I was thinking is that the SSH Droid app is actually doing all this for you in the pro version, creating these keys and stuff, so you don't have to learn how to do it. And that's what it does, actually. So if you do it yourself, learn how to do it and do it yourself, then it may just work. That's what I was thinking. Okay, now specify the port to connect, which, and here's just an example. SSH Droid uses 2222. You can change that. The default is 22, and if for any reason you wanted to, you could change that to 22 or whatever, or another port if you wanted to. You could, they used to advocate using oddball ports if you want to be more secure, but here's the thing. If somebody's trying to break into your system, the first thing they're going to do is scan your system with for open ports. And so it doesn't matter what numbers you use, I think. It would only help deter people who are just going by what ports they know about, in their own head. But if they're using a port scanner, then they're going to see all your open ports, and then they're going to try to get into them. That's the first thing you would do. So I use the 2222 because I'm afraid it would break it, break the SSH Droid, might not work because that's the way it's set up. Port 22, though, is the default for SSH and SFTP, and your programs that will do SFTP, they're going to try on port 22 unless you tell them different, so it would just drive you crazy. I've tried it before, and it drives you crazy because it says can't connect. And you're like, why? Finally, you remember, oh, yeah, I'm not using that port. So there you go. Now then, also execute. Now that's the next section on that window, and so we won't go into that. But so when we get to that part, I will when I get to this part, I'm setting this up. Hopefully I have a kind of back, all in my head what to do. I thought I would just quickly read over the instructions, but that did not work for me. My brain just couldn't do it. Okay, but and I was hoping I could explain it in a little more detail because it kept throwing me in circles, but I hope I did. I'm afraid I just went in circles so badly that it might not make any sense to anybody. So I've sat here doing this so long that I'm going to have a break. So I'm just going to stop this video, go take a break, and come back, start again, and then actually set up phone 2 to back it up, and then we'll go from there. What my plan was, unless I changed my mind, I was going to just set up phone 2 to back it up like I have been with log in with the password. And then while that's going, I would connect to phone 3, which is actually the one my lapel mic's, hooked up to. I've already backed it up, and but I can just, do it again. But it doesn't have very much data on it, so it would go quickly. When this one gets running, I think it may have the most videos of all, so it's liable to go for, 1 to 4 hours. I don't even know. So I can just let it run and keep going, Oh, I keep forgetting. Like I did yesterday. Once I start a backup, then I can go back into the settings in Lucky Backup to do that. Huh. So maybe I will try setting this up for phone 2. And if I run into a snag, I'll just go back to using the password the way I've been doing it. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I keep forgetting that. Because, I probably could open up another instance of Lucky Backup and do that, but that'd be too much work for this machine to be making a video and doing all that at once. So, okay, so this is just to be my long round and round explanation of how that works. Best and trying to figure it out myself as I went. It's really weird for me sometimes. I know how to do something. I can do it. I can show you. just do it on the video. But if I start reading the text and trying to fathom what these people wrote out, sometimes I go in real bad circles. So, oh well. So, it'd be good to stop this mixed up video and start a new one. All right. So I'll come back after I have my little break and get back to work and do what I do best. Just do it. Okay.